Wholesome. Do you go to church? Do you worship our Lord and Savior, Spaghetti Monster in the Sky?
I'm sorry. I worship our Lord and Savior, Britney Spears.
Oh, that's okay. That still works.
Okay.
All right. Work, bitch. Welcome back, one and all. Thank you for listening. If you're new here, this is the Totally Wholesome, Not Dirty podcast, and I'm your host, Molly Stewart. We define wholesome a little differently here, and my guests span everywhere from the adult industry to the vanilla side of humanity. If you haven't, please consider subscribing. Word of mouth is what helps this podcast grow. So share with a friend, leave a comment, download an episode, or anything you can to help with the algorithm. I release episodes every Monday, and if you're subscribed, you'll never miss an episode. You don't want to miss out on all the crazy conversations that evolve here. That's enough from me, and let's get to today's guest. Welcome back.
Wait. That one is on. That one just doesn't have a screen.
Yeah, so the screens that you can look at time out after a certain period to like save battery life.
Sweet talking mushrooms.
Yeah. All right, so welcome back to the Totally Wholesome, Not Dirty podcast.
Not dirty at all.
I guess that's what we're calling it now. I've decided this in December, even though this airs in January, so I've already decided. I asked for people to give me feedback, but I'm pretty sure that nobody will because you guys barely even write in as it is. So it's my show and I'm doing what I want. Now, I'm back with Caitlyn, and we cannot pretend that it is another day because she would not switch pajamas with me because she claimed she was too sweaty. Like that is any sort of problem to be had whatsoever. Like I am not sitting over here soaked in my own sweat. What it really boils down to is she didn't want to wear my sweaty pajamas, and I'm a little bit offended. Do you want to talk about that?
I would have rolled around in your sweat. I would have rolled around in it and lapped it up.
But I wouldn't wear your pajamas.
But wearing your pajamas is where I cross the line.
It's a step too far, damn it. All right, so we left you guys last week saying that we were going to talk about sex stuff. So because this is totally wholesome and not dirty, I think that first we should maybe discuss a few other things and, you know, be a little wholesome. So what is your favorite wholesome activity?
Pauses for dramatic effect and to think of anything I do with my clothes on. I was going to say hiking, but y'all know that we don't do that very wholesomely.
Yes. Nature is fun. It's fun to be free in nature.
I was going to say yoga, but I also tend to not wear clothing while doing that.
Wholesome. Wholesome. Do you go to church? Do you worship our Lord and Savior, Spaghetti Monster in the Sky?
I'm sorry. I worship our Lord and Savior, Britney Spears.
Oh, that's okay. That still works.
Okay.
All right. Work, bitch. Now, since we don't really do anything wholesome here, do you want to tell me about your weirdest custom video request ever?
Weirdest custom video request ever.
And also, would you like to smoke the other kind of motivator since it's a new episode?
Yes.
And Cannovative has so graciously provided me with not needing to go to the dispensary in months. Thanks.
Coffee, Caitlyn, and cannabis are my favorite combination to start the day.
Me too. I shared this meme the other day and it was like, anyway, it culminates with basically like the best breakfast, you know, with the different swords, and it just ends with weed and an energy drink. I'm like, yeah, that's me.
Mine is definitely a gravity bong hit and a cup of coffee, 100%.
Yeah, not necessarily
catch it on my private snap
to some people, but definitely I find to be very wholesome.
I was just about to say catch that morning coffee on my private snap every day, and it is not very wholesome. It is a whole lot of beans.
I think our level of wholesome is so not wholesome to some people, just because like I
feel like it would be wholesome in Europe where they accept being topless because that's typically what it is. It's me topless at home enjoying my coffee.
But do you ever get like where, all right, so when you're making content or something, it's like, oh, like now this is like the naughty stuff. This is the dirty, unwholesome stuff. But normal things that people would find like you do that, like you just sit around your house naked. Like so many people, that's such a weird concept that you're just in your home naked. But like,
I
or
have
I've had it like just being around people like doing photo shoots for people that aren't anything to do with the darker side of my job, and then just like taking off my clothes in front of them to do an outfit change, and they're just like, whoa. I'm like, oh, sorry, do people not do this? It's just like stripping in front of people.
So I also grew up in a house of all women. I've got a bunch of sisters. I'm the oldest of 6 total, but only the youngest is a boy.
Yeah.
So I got a bunch of sisters and a mom. And so I grew up in a household where my mom was the naked neighbor.
Yes.
I'm now the naked neighbor, but my mom was the naked neighbor. And
I love being the naked
she
neighbor.
would walk around the house, like, because it's all women, she would walk around the house to, like, go grab laundry or go get her like, bottoms or work outfit out of the laundry room.
Yeah.
Butt naked after the shower. We'd all walk around in towels.
Yeah.
So in my home, even now, it's still pretty much like that.
Yeah. And I got paranoid for a second that I didn't record the audio. I'm going to be thinking about the time that I didn't record audio for the rest of my life and always be paranoid that I didn't record the audio.
So I guess a lot of wholesome activities I do. I just am comfortable enough with my body.
I think that's the big thing. It's like, it's not really that it's not wholesome. It's like you can still, you know, bake cookies and be all Martha Stewart and shit. Okay, so Friendsgiving, did I put on a bit of a spread? Because I was a little bit proud of it.
Okay, so I'm not gonna lie. I cooked my first personal Thanksgiving this year, a couple days before I came to your Thanksgiving. And I know how hard that shit is, okay?
It's so hard. And I did it very wholesomely for all of my friends.
And that's why
I love.
That's
and I did it naked.
I know how hard that is. And you had double the shit that I made for my home on that table. And I was just looking at it going, how the f***ing Martha Stewart, Betty Crocker ass bullshit did she pull this off all by herself? And I almost felt guilty as a friend of yours for not being here to at least emotionally support you doing all that work. So I was very grateful.
There was no one, and I mean this in the most loving way possible, to my man, to my friends. No one could have emotionally supported me during that time. Like, I was a wreck. It was insane. And I did it to myself. And I talked about it to my therapist later. She's like...
Do you guys know that this woman is terrified of birds and she cooked us a whole ass turkey? She's scared of birds.
I was so angry.
And it wasn't a tiny turkey. She didn't take the tiny, small, easy way out. She cooked a giant bird that could have fed the entire army. It was giant.
I hate it.
I
hate it so
I could have
much.
crawled inside it and lived. I mean, it looked pretty enough to do that.
I just wanted to be inside of it. I just want to be inside you, turkey. But no, but I stressed myself out.
That's almost the sound turkey makes.
Do you remember me having to point out, yes, it's made from scratch. Yes, all of this is made from scratch. Boxes? No. Canned goods? I was
almost offended.
I don't think so.
I was almost offended when you were asked that question.
I was like, no, I'm sorry. From a box? You think I bagged these delicious caramelized onion, bacon, Gruyere pinwheel rolls? You think I got these from a freezer? I rolled them out on the counter with my fucking bare, washed hands. All right?
See,
I recorded it.
I actually love to cook.
But I didn't need to cook that much shit. I did not need to make it all from scratch, for one. It's like I had this idea in my head that it had to be absolutely perfect for no fucking reason. I cooked for 3 days.
I appreciated every moment she invested into that meal.
But then my therapist pointed out, she's like, why did it have to be from scratch? I'm like, because otherwise it wouldn't be perfect. She's like, but why does it have to be perfect? I'm like, because I am the host. And if I am hosting all of these people, then clearly it must be perfect. Otherwise it will go all and tell all of these other people that I don't know what a terrible time they had because it was not all from scratch and there was not enough food and there was not enough presents from the host and everything would be a disaster. She's like,
to be fair...
Okay, let's unpack that.
To be fair, I did not have every single one of my nearest and dearest friends in my home like you did. So you had a spread of human beings to take care of. I just had me and my very tiny, intimate family. And
Well, just the thing was, at first it was supposed to be like 7 people, and I was like, oh, dude, I got this. And then I was like, oh, it's 20 people. Massive panic. Everything must be absolutely
But here's the thing. I just had my tiny, intimate family, and I love to cook. So I was actually super stoked that I got to host Thanksgiving for the first time in a couple of years.
Yeah, that must be nice.
I love to cook, though. So when I say tiny, I mean, like, there were 4 people at my Thanksgiving total.
Yeah.
And I still made 3 pies from scratch, a ham, a turkey.
And you made ambrosia
3 different...
for here.
I made ambrosia for my house, too. 3 different kinds of potatoes. Baked sweet potatoes and the fluffy ones with the marshmallows on top.
Okay, so girl,
rolls from scratch. I did the whole thing, and it blows my mind because you did it for a ton of human beings, and I'm like, I have that level of perfectionism when I just do it for myself. It's almost detrimental sometimes.
Yeah, I get that. Like, okay, so for instance, I get super stressed out when my house is like out of order. I'm like that meme. It's like, we have to pretend that we don't live here. But like, I live here all the time. Like, I never leave. Like, and so I go and meticulously decorate, like, for every holiday. Like, I'm expecting to be on, Good Housekeeping or something. Like, what am I doing?
If you guys...
Like, why am I doing this? Why do I have totes?
Now, these people
multiple totes for every season. And it's like, as soon as pumpkins were no longer mandatory, like, as soon as Friendsgiving was over, the next day, I'm like, Christmas has thrown up in this household. Like, it is everywhere.
They don't know this, and I actually don't even think you know this yet. But when you look at Snapchat in about 7 seconds, because I'm mentioning it, I literally just filmed your home and said, and I quote, my favorite human is Walt Disney, or one of my favorite. And one of his most famous quotes is, the magic is in the details. And the reason I think Molly is fucking magic is because the details in everything she does blows my mind. And I appreciate that on a level that most people don't, because I also am obsessed with details. I used to be an events coordinator.
How obsessed with Disney I am. And one of his famous quotes is, the magic is in the details. Can I just tell you, this is why I find Molly fucking magical?
I love this is like just what you said.
Look at this. Up your details games, guys.
It's literally because, like, I used to be an events coordinator, and I realized that I enjoyed that job simply because I got to pay attention to the details for everyone. It's literally it. And so, like, I just hosted a tea party at my house and had to have the most intricate tea details. Like, the cookies had to be tea shaped.
Yeah, girl, I made a fucking pecan pie from scratch with the crust and everything.
I love making homemade crusts.
And I cut out a turkey.
She put it on the top. It was so
to put on top. David, I'll give you a picture. Remind me, and I'll give you a picture, and you can put it here. Turkey pie. Made that from scratch.
How cute.
There's not turkey in it. It's just a turkey because it's Thanksgiving. It's a pecan pie.
That's called a pot pie.
Yeah, that's a pot pie. Not the same. Not delicious sweet pie with nuts.
By the way,
nut pie. And no one ate it either.
Contrary to popular belief,
do you want to know?
There's no pot in a pot pie.
No, there's not, unless you make it with some. But do you know the only person who ate that pie? Me.
So pecan pie is
it's
like
so fucking
on
good.
my top 2 pies ever. And had I known this, I would have come and eaten all her pie.
It was so fucking good, and I ate it. So I guess I made it for me in the end, and it was fine. Fuck, it was so good. Oh, and I think I did send some. Oh, I got to give some to my friend. Never mind. I did get to give away some of the pie. Anyway, that's besides the point. Why am I still talking about this?
I'd eat your pie any day.
Thank you. But it's fun. Like, I just like to have. I feel like I spend so much fucking time here.
I feel like if you make your
happy.
If you make your home feel homely, you want to be home. I feel like the people who spend all of their time out, I get it. There is an extroverted personality type, but I feel like the people who...
I still like to go out. It's just
but
not
I feel like
all
the
time.
people who spend all of their time out
Yeah.
is because they haven't spent time curating a space that they want to belong in.
Yeah. Because I think that's one of the cool things is everyone's always trying to find a place to belong and like a group to belong to or like friends to belong to, but you gotta like belong to yourself a little bit. You gotta like know what makes you comfortable and like what makes you feel good and like and have a space that you're comfortable in. And then when people come to your space too, you don't feel like weird because you're already comfortable there. And it's like when you're comfortable, other people are comfortable, which is I feel like why this is way better of a space than my last home. Mind you, know people.
Mind you, I am the world's biggest Akko taco and will somehow manage to feel awkward everywhere.
Same with me. That's why we do the fun voices and faces. And people are like, what the fuck are you doing?
Okay, so I actually have a reason for this. Or at least I've come up with one.
Oh. Hear her out.
Ugly duckling syndrome.
Explain.
When you don't know and or are not hot for a long period of time, you develop a personality.
Okay.
And then I got a little bit hot, and here I am, with people looking at my awkwardness. Ugly duckling syndrome.
Oh my God.
That's my only excuse for it, because I feel like had I known I was hot before, I would have just banked on that.
All right, so...
I would have just banked on that.
Wait. Fuck. All right, so at one point, I didn't have a jaw. Like, I just had a round-ass, like, child face. And...
I was a fat. I'm not even gonna
chubby
lie. When I
fuck.
first started camming, I was a BBW model. When I first, my first ever, I'm admitting this for the first time ever, and I hate you all for looking it up. I know you're doing it. Fuck you guys.
Leave her alone. Leave Caitlyn alone.
But when I started, I was a BBW model, and nothing against BBW models, but I wasn't comfortable in my body.
Yeah.
And so I developed a way to deflect from that.
You take on the personality.
And now that I feel comfortable with myself, I'm just fucking weird. The trauma.
I understand you so much. All right, so this
I feel like this is why we get along, though, because when we started hanging out, we clicked. And I feel like it's because I was like, oh my God, somebody else who's just as fucking strange as me.
All right, so like when you were, okay, so you were in high school, right? Okay.
Yeah,
were you weird in high
I'm a
school?
little strange like you because I went to an all girls private school.
Okay, we need to get to the bottom of why we are the way we are. All right. We're going to title this
The Reasons
Couples Therapy. All right.
Why we are the way we are.
I love that. All right. Why we are the way we are. A therapy session with Miss Caitlyn Brooks. That's the title. Title that this, David. You're editing this, so now you know.
I am not licensed, and here's the liability claim that if you take
We're not professionals. This is all for jokes.
Any advice from me, you should probably seek real professional help.
Yes. BetterHelp.org. I use them. You can sponsor this if you want to. But
wait.
What?
Oh, pineapple support if you're in our industry.
Yeah, that too. I haven't used them, but Caitlyn does, and they come highly recommended. And you will know that if you have listened to the last episode we did together. So go back to that one. David Ping.
I'm not even sponsored by them in any way, guys. I just really do passionately love what they give to us as an industry. So please side note me being a little sappy, for lack of a better term.
All right, now let's talk high school. Let's talk high school you.
Okay.
Let's get into it. We need to discover why we do the faces that we do, the weird little voices that we do. We need to get to the real bottom of why we had an episode discussing Pedophile Island where pedophiles kill each other. So
okay, so that, I mean, obviously that sums up that I have some trauma in my youth.
I mean, don't we all? So let's continue.
I went to an all-girls private school because I was primarily raised by my grandparents until my mom decided to reintroduce herself into my life and transplant me to Las Vegas. And then I was thrown into public school.
Oh, fun.
In Las Vegas.
Okay. That sounded like a good time you had. Is it fun?
So I was very quickly a little bit of a social outcast.
Okay, wait. And how did you feel about that?
I love the therapy-esque. Yeah, I was a little bit of a social outcast simply because I'm a really perky fucking human being, and that rubs a lot of people the wrong way, apparently.
Mm-hmm. They're like, no one can possibly be this happy all the time.
Of course not. It's a coping mechanism.
Like, everything has to be fine all the time. Otherwise, everything explodes.
So I was one of those people who had a very ideological, like, way I wanted my life to look. I was a super planner. Again, a coping strategy. I was a super planner.
Lists.
A super planner. So when things would go not the way I planned them, that was hard for me because that's chaotic. So I went from a private school to a public school to being a little bit of a social outcast to going into the adult industry where you're, a little bit of a social outcast. And I guess I feel comfortable in that role now.
Yeah, because you're just like, well, it's always been like this, like in one way or another.
Yeah, I'm kind of comfortable being
I kind
quirky.
of feel the same way, like, because especially like being homeschooled too. Like, it's funny. I'll have a lot of people on here and I'll hear stories about like, their friends from high school, like finding them and stuff like that. But for me, remember when I was homeschooled and like the limited amount of other young adults that I was around was so small and censored, like especially in the place that I lived. And I'm sure that maybe some of them may be watching and listening to this now. Hi. But probably not. And if so, I was never close enough to any of them to like know or give a shit.
I was the kind of person, and I don't even know if other people realized this about me in high school, but because of this very idealistic picture of myself, I pressured myself to be a huge perfectionist. And I was juggling and not to get into it too much, but I was juggling a spiraling home life as soon as I moved back in with my mother.
Yeah.
So it was a disaster in a handbasket, basically. And so my coping mechanism is to present perfectionism. And I'm a strong perfectionist, and it's, again, a coping skill. Strong perfectionist. And so I was the hyper joiner. Like, even though I was...
Yeah, you said you were in, like, every fucking club.
Even though I was a social outcast, I had this deep-seated internal want, and we talked about this in our last episode, this deep-seated internal want to belong, because I had just transplanted from California.
Yeah, you're like, where do I fit in? I need somewhere, like, let me try everywhere and see what sticks.
And so I became a very eclectic human being, though, because of it. And I'm very thankful, because I literally did everything. I was in marching band and played several instruments. I did color guard. I did student council. I did dance committee stuff.
Yeah, so you're like well-rounded, but still not really attached to any one thing.
Sports, cheerleading, all of it. And I think because I was so involved, it was very easy as soon as a situation became uncomfortable or wasn't favored for what I wanted, or the situation was, like I said, uncomfortable, I guess that's the lack of a better term, I would float to a different area. It was very easy to be very, very transient. And I guess that's very transient.
So I startled myself by hitting it, so I hit it again. I'm sorry, David.
So when I say social outcast, I feel like I had a lot of acquaintances, a lot of people who knew me, but not of a lot of really close friends.
Yeah.
And so it's a personality
And so
type.
it's also one of those things that you just kind of learn to be on your own. And I think that's one of the funny...
I'm actually hyper codependent because of it.
Oh, really?
Yes. So I tend to attach myself to in most social situations, I attach myself to one human being. And I'm like, you are my person. You're going to be my person. And so be it, you are my person. And then I'm comfortable in every other situation as long as that person is there. But as soon as that person is not there, I'm like, oh! And that's it. So I'm hyper codependent to one or two selective individuals. And then outside of that, I'm like... So I'm hyper codependent to one or two human beings. And I think that's because I don't... I love you so much. And I think that's because I don't invest a lot of myself into everyone. And that's changed as an adult, because we're talking high school me now. It's almost the exact opposite now as an adult. So I was at that time investing so little of myself into most interactions that I would invest all of myself into one or two interactions. So if anything went wrong with that
You
one
would
or two people,
hyper-focus on that.
if anything went wrong with those one or two people, I was left devastated, crumbled, crushed. Like, it was like severing an arm to lose a person that was in my inner circle. So,
I actually kind of feel you on that. And it just kind of like, but the difference was, yeah, but I had that like when I started camming, because it was like, I've never had anyone, so everyone has like always left for one reason or another. And it's like, here's finally this group of people who get me. Like they get it. They feel me, but they don't. It's like they know, but they take advantage. And it's like, I guess I didn't really, because I was homeschooled, didn't really have the high school experience, and I didn't really have the understanding of fake people or social scenarios, or how to handle myself, or how little to share versus how much to share. And like
that, you just highlighted it for me.
Making instant best friends who couldn't care less about you, but you think that you
that
matter.
You just highlighted literally what I was trying to explain. Like, you summed it up in a better way. It's literally like, I don't invest in people, or I wasn't investing in people because of that initial fear and wanting to hold back. And then once I do invest into them, it's like I would overinvest. Mm-hmm. Like overindulge, overinvest, overshare, instant best friends. It was like, once I found a person who I thought I connected with, I was like, here is everything. Mm-hmm. And this is actually something I'm working on in therapy now. I've learned that what you do is you expect other people to react in the same way you would react in a situation. So I'm almost caring to a fault, and I've actually learned to dial that back as an adult. But in that parameter, like I said, there was this deep-seated need to belong. So because I had that need, I thought everybody else had that need. So if I was just loving and accepting of all things, then clearly everything was going to be bed of roses.
I was
yes.
What can I do for you? Don't fucking leave me. Like, please let me like give you everything you could possibly need or want or take from me. Take everything. Take my dignity. Take my self-respect. Just take everything. It's like how I always joke when people are like, "Oh, I like that." I'm like, "Oh, have it."
So I thought that the way to grow out of that was just to be more reserved for a longer period of time, and then do the exact same thing. But just make it take way longer so that I'm sure.
You need to work really hard to take away my dignity. Thank you. Please make this a really long, drawn out event so that it hurts extra hard when the finale comes.
Yeah.
Let's make it 100 times worse, because that will be better than the other thing.
And so honestly, I was like that even in the beginning of most of my adult life. It wasn't until I went through my accident and kind of like, because that was a life-changing thing for me. Like, there's no other way to put it, is like I went through something that it was emotionally straining. As anybody knows, you go through something, it changes things. Everybody has their thing. For me, it was my accident. I invested in a group of human beings who like I would have gone to the ends of earth for, and something happened to me, and then I realized that they weren't there for me. Mm-hmm. And so it was the first time, and I think you mentioned this earlier, that I learned that I had to be there for me first.
Yep.
Oy.
It's hard. It's a difficult thing to come to, because it's...
Especially when you're codependent, especially when you invest into people like that or want that sense of belonging. You feel like this sense of belonging will create a safetiness within yourself.
You need to...
But you learn that it's the opposite. You have to create a safetiness within yourself in order to feel like you belong anywhere.
Exactly. Like, you have to actually attribute your own value to yourself. Because if you don't first give yourself some semblance of value and be like, this is how much I'm willing to give, this is what I need in return, and like understand that there's validity to also needing someone to give something back to you, because you can't be the only one giving all the time.
And I
because
think we
at some point
base.
You're on empty, like sputtering fumes.
And I think we kind of touched base on this in our last podcast, if not earlier in this one. On the fact that in this industry, when we come into it, some people see it as a traumatizing thing, but for some people it's a very re-empowering thing, because you get to evaluate your value to yourself. And yes, it starts with a monetary value when you're pricing your customs, your per minute one-on-ones, your sexting sessions,
Yeah, but
things like that.
You start to realize, like, especially when it starts to build, that there are so many people who do value that time. So you're like, well, I only have so much time, so I do have to put a number on it.
It starts as monetary value, but I feel like it becomes intrinsical value if you're actively working on yourself, if you're actively trying to be a positive person, if you're actively doing all of the things to address the trauma, the self-work, all of the bullshit that comes with it. I feel like it becomes so much more about being valued as a person than just being valued on a monetarity value.
Yeah, for sure. And I didn't realize that until I started therapy. I was one of those people that thought, like, oh, like, it's for fucking crazy people. Because honestly, the very few experiences that I had with therapy in the past made me feel like a crazy person. But
and that's because, like we said before, there are so many people with a preconditioned ideology about what we do, who we are. And if you can't find somebody who doesn't have that biased, it'll make you feel like it's all your fault.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying, like, I honestly, like, especially for people who are unsure, and they do not sponsor this, so it was a joke earlier, but they do not. But BetterHelp, I use them, and I'm a huge advocate for it, and it's cool because they like, you know, give you this whole quiz on, like, what you're going through and what you're hoping to get out of it, or if you even know if you're trying to get anything out of it. And, you know, you get to, like, go through people and talk to people beforehand to, like, see what kind of qualifications they have and, like, what their areas of expertise are. And I got lucky, and it's been working pretty well, and I feel so much better.
I love
and
that
it's
for
like
you.
But it's also at the same time, like, I went into it not expecting to get anything out of it, and I did it at the time because I was just, like, here in this house, like, alone, and I did it kind of as a joke. Yeah, and I was like, I just want to make my therapist laugh, haha. And I did, but I was like, oh, there's also a lot of shit here, so
you realize you're funny for a reason.
Yeah. I was like, oh, there it is. But but it's actually been, like, a sick experience, and I've stuck with it. And it's like, sometimes it makes me so mad, and I, like, don't want to do it. But then it's at, like, the same time I know it's doing something.
Can I just say
because I don't want to do it.
Can I just say I'm really proud of you? Because you just mentioned that you're so early in your therapy, like, journey, and you're so open about talking about it. I feel like there are so many.
Because I think it's fucking important.
Me too. It's like one of the most important parts of my platform, honestly, is mental health and talking about it. So I wanted to tell you, I'm really proud of you for going down that whole path and journey, because, like, that's not fucking easy, girl. Like, pat on our backs.
Oh, thank you. But I feel like this year also, I've been, like, super into fitness, like, never before in my life. Like, I've always been fit, like, especially, like, off and on, but, like,
it definitely highlights, like, your commitment
this year,
to self.
I just kind of, like, threw everything into it, especially when I quit drinking alcohol last year, just from that point on. And then especially this year being alone, like, the better part of the year,
you
like,
found a healthy coping mechanism.
Yeah, and so I just replaced that, and, like, every time I felt shitty, I'm just like, well, I'm gonna go fucking work out. And so that's what I would fucking do, and I just felt better and better. And it's like, and then when you think about it, the brain is just like,
you know,
the brain is just like a muscle. And so it's like, the more that you train it, the more, like, muscle memory. It's like, the more that you do it, you know, and you just keep doing it, and you keep finding ways to make it better, and you keep finding ways to cope that are healthy instead of negative. And then you keep unpacking, and you keep diving in, and it's so fucking hard, but it's also rewarding at the same time. And it's like, when you don't want to do it, that's, like, one of the best times to do it, because it's at that point that you're kind of, like, rejecting the ability to be able to actually heal from something that is potentially really holding you back in a way that you can't even recognize, because your brain won't let you get in there yet, and it's hard. For
me personally, it's a lot of reparenting, accepting that, like, I am not my trauma type situation. So I feel like you unpack, you have to, like, dive into it a bunch, and I feel like you even have to take steps back and, like, take a break from it, because it gets really overwhelming, it gets to be too much, and then you got to be willing to, you know, go back into it. And I feel like it's going to be kind of, at least for me, it's going to be kind of a lifelong process, but I think that's a good thing, because it's it's almost comforting every time I do self-work now. Like, at first it was really goddamn hard, but now it's almost like a comforting thing because I'm like, damn, I tackled another thing. It's almost like,
well, it's like one of
check.
those, it's one of those things that sometimes, like, out of nowhere when my brain is doing its crazy stuff and I start, like, panicking or whatever, and then I think about something and I'm like, and I can work through it and I get way less panic attacks and it's cool, and then I'm like, oh shit, like, I learned about that, and so I should probably stick with this for now because, like, some shit is working and I'm starting to actually, like,
So
figure out how to feel fucking more normal and not like crazy brain. So
for me, I don't deal with panic attacks, but I deal with depressive episodes for sure.
I do as well.
My that's probably my biggest hurdle. And before, I used to be very hard on myself for having those emotions, those feelings, needing that break. And I realized I push myself very hard. Because I am a perfectionist. We talked about it, because I like that perfectionism, and it's not a part.
I like the stress,
but it's not a part of me I want to give up. Some people are like, I need to not be like that. It's not a part of me I want to give up. It's part of me that I'm proud of.
Yeah. My
At this
therapist
point,
said that there's nothing wrong with it as long as you continue to
But-
also take care of yourself.
that's what I was gonna say. But
Which is hard.
what I've had to accept is because I go 100%, I have to be comfortable going 0. Not 50, not 75, not 90. If I'm going to go 100, I have to be comfortable going 0. And it took me so long to get over that hurdle of accepting that I'm going to have days where I can't be available, where I have to turn off the technology, where I have to sit in bed with my emotions, where I have to feel through it. And I used to call them bad days and depressed days. And I used to, sometimes they would go on for a week at a time.
Yeah.
And that's because, coupled with dealing with whatever it was I was clearly needing to deal with that I wasn't allowing myself to, I was adding shame and guilt and expectation.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I alleviated myself of that I was
it
like,
just compounds on it, because you're like, I'm laying here.
Yes.
I'm lying here being
Yes.
depressed when I
Yes.
actually should be working because I have a million things to do and I'm being an unproductive
you
little
guys
slob right now, and what a piece of shit
Have
I
you
am.
guys seen that?
No wonder that I never get anything done. Everything is burning around me.
have you guys seen that TikTok where it's like, laying down is the worst mistake you can ever make because, and then it's the voiceover from Monsters Inc. But captioned over it, they're talking about how, like, taking a break from work is the worst mistake you ever can make because it makes you lazy and unproductive and all these things. And I used to very much so feel that way. And being in this industry where you're constantly in demand, I felt like anytime I wasn't available for that demand, I was immediately not good enough. I wasn't able to keep up. I wasn't working as hard as other people. Like, how dare I need a break, essentially. And it has definitely affected my work when I've taken long periods of time off. But there's been several times that when during healing, for example, I took a long time off. And before, oh God, I would never have allowed that for myself.
Yeah. Well, it's like I even have times now where it's like I am available so much on my OnlyFans. So anytime that someone is like
Same.
sassy to me in a DM about not replying fast enough, I'm like, I'm sorry that there are 2.5 thousand people on this platform and most of them DM me and I have to reply to them. I'm sorry I didn't get back to you for 20 minutes. Like,
Yikes.
But I also tell them at some points, like, if I have situations that arise, like when my grandpa died, like, or when I injure myself and I'm like, hey, I can't make customs, like, it's gonna be a little waiting period, and they're cool with it. It's just like, but I
love when you have respectful fans who
I need them to
understand.
understand, like, we're people, we can only do so much at a
Yeah.
time, and we're trying our best.
I'm very lucky that 90%, I would like to see even more than 90% of my fan base is so, and I think it's possibly because I am so loud about my mental health and so loud about how important it is
to talk about, because I think that the more light is shown on it,
they're so understanding, because there have been times where I don't have a reason. I will be point blank. I don't have a reason for falling off the face of the earth for 3 or 4 days. But when I come back, gosh darn it, am I going to put out the most spectacular content you've ever seen? Because if I would have made...
You just need a little break
But if I
sometimes.
would have made content for you in those 3 to 4 days, and my fans understand that, it wasn't going to be content that you're going to want to jack off to.
Yeah, like, oh, here, I fulfill you to your, like, custom, like, ahead of schedule, Don't worry. The whole time you're jerking off to it, you can think about the fact that I wanted to cry the entire time because my grandpa just died. So I'm glad that you got your custom on time. Like, don't be a selfish cunt. Do you know what I'm saying?
That
like,
sounds terrible.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why people need to understand that no matter like what content you're making, or like even just businesses, like especially small businesses, like because I have a friend who has a small business.
Yes, this applies in a lot of other areas.
Like so much hate and attacks, and I know that it's not just hers. And I know it's not just us and things like that, and it's everywhere. But people are so negative. It's like,
I'm sure it's very relatable.
Minute and just realize that people are only human. There's only so much that you can do in a day. There's only so much you have control of, especially like in, you know, industries where you're still relying on other people as well. And for instance, like when we're making content, it's like we're a solo video. It's like if, like, for instance, I pulled my hip abductor and I like couldn't move.
I remember that.
For like a week. Like I couldn't move. Like I'm just typing there on my laptop like, I'm old and I'm dying. And and like they understand, and they were cool with the fact, like that. Most of them, like a majority of them, I should say.
And this is something that I was going to say is we touched on reasons we get into the industry or reasons why we stay in the industry. And you said that for me, one of the reasons that it's so compatible is because I do have the luxury of taking care of my mental health and my physical body.
Yeah, and they fucking support it, and they're cool about it, a majority of them. And that's why I'm saying to the ones out there who don't understand maybe that, like, we're still people.
It makes me giggle that we started this entire tangent conversation with what was my weirdest custom.
Wait,
and here we are.
Wait, what was it?
We never answered. But I just literally was like,
what happened?
Wow, how did we get here?
So what was your weirdest?
And we've come full circle.
What is happening right
That's what I'm saying. We totally went whoosh, left field. And now we're back.
Stoned. We just came all around the whole world. We just orbited it twice and we're back. All right.
He came all around the world.
We came everywhere. All right.
That's my goal. Literally, I'm buying an RV to come.
Oh my God. It's
everywhere.
So cold. Is it cold in here? Because my nose won't stop running. I think it's just my allergies. All right. Anyway. So what was the weirdest custom that you ever made? Weirdest requested and then weirdest made. If it was like one that was too weird, you didn't want to do it.
Weirdest custom would probably... See, weird is relative. Everybody has fetishes.
No, I'm just saying,
but
like...
for me, it was a little...
We're gonna pause real quick because they're just picking up the check for my landscaping.
Do your thing, girl. Do your thing, chicken wing. Chicken wing, chicken wing. She's gonna leave that in there and I'm going to have to giggle. Dance break. Welcome back.
All right.
Okay.
So,
Weirdest
custom and mental health. All right.
I'm mentally healthy because of my weird customs. I actually really
I like weird customs.
I was just about to say that. I actually really like the fetishy weird custom stuff.
They're so fun to make. And that's why I say weird so lovingly. I love all my little weirdos. All of you little weirdos
Definitely.
Who have your weird little kinks and your strange little... I love it. So I say that with all the love because I think weird things are fun.
Like I said, I think fetishes are actually my favorite thing to film.
Yeah.
Like, I love it.
I love it.
I love it.
Like, okay, so what's your favorite then?
So, hold on. First, the weirdest.
Okay.
So, I only say weird because I don't understand the kink behind it. And that's my favorite part of camming is understand the psychology behind, like, why someone's really into something. But I had a guy request a custom video pretending to be a robot. And not like robot, like animatronic sex doll robot. More like beep, boop, metal robot.
Okay.
And so I was beeping and booping and doing the robot. And like, I was like...
Did you wear a box? Like, did you make a little box costume?
I didn't. I wore like shiny metallic. He specifically requested like a really tight skirt.
And like fembot type stuff.
I had, yes, very like, and I had so much fun filming it because I'm just out there like doing the robot. Felt so like Michael Jackson. I was like, let's do it. And this guy is going to enjoy it. He's going to jack off. And I'm like, yes, I got to do the robot for 20 minutes and go beep, boop, beep, boop. And if you're watching, I know you like that.
Sexy.
So I love the little fetish things. I love when people have very specific requests. And I think that goes into that perfectionism. Yeah, because I
you
know...
can just make it so fun.
I know that it's exactly what you want when you make a custom request. Yeah. And so I get into it. And I guess that's my kink, guys, is I get into it.
I do too. I like
because I know you're going to like it.
Yes, because it's fun because you get to do
Enjoy me!
You get to do the fucking performer thing. Like,
that's
I think it's fun. It's entertainment.
It's
and you get to like
that you're going to be enjoying.
Yeah, and you get to inject your own creativity into that. Like, I like the ones where I get to be like a giant. I they're my little pet, and I choke them and I move the camera around like this, like and throw them down. I like the ones where I'm just like sitting there naked wearing a strap on, and I'm just like, it just starts like up in my face. I'm like, are you so excited to explore my body?
She's making me hot.
Oh my god.
I'm getting horny.
You're so excited for my tits, aren't you?
I'm so excited.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
And then it pans down and I have like a pink dick, like a bright pink dick.
I'm so
and
excited.
My hand is on it and I'm just stroking. I'm like, you want to suck my cock. And I'm
I do.
This doesn't even look like my cock. Like, I am not bright pink. And you guys fucking love it. And I'm like, I'm gonna just spread you open and I'm like, suck my dick. The power.
So
they're so fun.
I love filming cuck content. Cuck content and femdom content of any kind.
Oh, I love it so much.
Because the fact that you want to worship my physical being, which I put a lot of fucking hard work into and spend a lot of fucking money on, and naturally wake up looking like this.
I didn't do my makeup today again.
I wake up like this.
I was like, let's have a pajama day. And she was like, I sleep like this. And I was like, oh, I didn't do my I didn't even put on concealer.
I love it because she's perfect the way she fucking is.
That's right. Recognize.
But I do. I love femdom content. Worship me for having curves, for having long, beautiful legs, for my perfect feet and my beautiful, wonderful, amazing face.
I don't understand any of the guys. All right, so I love you guys dearly, but I don't understand any of the guys who jerk off to my feet specifically. Feet in general, I understand. But like, my feet are so gross. And I would like you to know that they're cold and clammy all of the time. It's absolutely disgusting. It's not okay. And I have to get pedicures a lot to like shave the immense calluses off of my feet that come out of nowhere. Like, I don't know why they exist. It's not like I work very hard with my feet. I'm covering them in lotion all the time and like powders and shit for videos. Like, they should be pristine feet. Why do I have like tracks? Like, I have soles on the bottom of my feet that have to get scraped off by my nail guy. And I'm sorry, dude, but like,
I obviously wasn't leaving my house for a couple weeks when I was fucking healing from surgeries and things. So I wasn't getting my nails done. I wasn't getting my feet done. I wasn't doing my fucking lashes because I was going to lay there and I was going to be in pain and I was going to look like a fucking troll while I'm in pain. But that's the first time in my life that I looked down at my feet and I went, ugh. And I have very flat, wide feet. So I actually buy half sizes or go up a size for comfortability and width.
Do you know
so I know that I have
it is to find an 11.5 wide.
So we're gonna just casually coast over that one.
Yeah, that's the problem.
So I look down at my feet and I'm like, and that was when I decided you need to go back to maintenancing yourself ASAP.
Yeah, you need to fix that.
Because I I don't feel that way. I was like, I do have nice feet. I think I have cute. I wear socks all the time. Like, I'm very nice feet. But yeah, I had troll feet for a hot goddamn minute.
Yeah.
Straight troll feet. So I learned
Yeah.
to appreciate my nail artist and my nail tech 10 times more.
Yeah. Like, I do the pedicure thing because I have foot people. Because, like, I know that I should do it anyway, but I'm like, at least they pay for it because it makes them
See,
happy to see
I
me get
know-
it done. But I'm like, you guys don't understand how necessary this actually is because they're actually disgusting. And even though they are pedicured, like, why are they cold and clammy all the
wish
time?
I could blame the fact that I'm kind of a diva when it comes to self-maintenance on my fans. I wish I could blame them. I wish I could be
but
like, if I wish I could be like, you guys are the reason I do my
I
makeup.
know,
and
I
the
know
reason
how
I
you
do
are.
my hair, and you guys are the reason I get my nails done. And I wish I could tell you that and tell you how much it's all for you. But it's not. I'm sorry. It's for me because I feel like a badass princess when I look all glammed up and I put sparkles on when I'm not going anywhere, so I can look at myself in the mirror and go, you're a sparkly princess. And I film clips of myself that I never post ever. And I feel guilty for not posting it because I'm just like, you're so cute. But nobody wants to see you singing for 17 minutes on your Snapchat. So maybe you should just post one of these 8 videos and move on with your life.
Yeah, well, it's okay. You just save it for later. Like, pull it out from the vault. Just have like a compilation of like the year of unposted singing to yourself in the mirror clips.
Every single one of my fans who's going to have to watch that on a daily now can refer to this moment.
There you go.
But no, really, I love glam. I love glam. And I know that sounds crazy because so many women are like, I hate getting ready and I hate doing my hair.
No,
and
I love
makeup."
doing it for shoots. I love doing it
No.
for cam because I love having a reason. But I understand.
No, I do glam
just-
and go eat breakfast by myself and drink my coffee at my table. And I'm just like, you're so pretty. And I also, like, my whole home is aesthetic, just like how you like make your home aesthetic. I feel like I do that for myself to spoil myself. So I'm like, I have pink plates. Not for everyone else. I have pink plates so that when I eat my breakfast, the pink plates bring me joy.
Yeah, well, that's why. That's
what I'm
why.
saying.
Yeah,
That's what
why
I'm
I
saying.
understand that completely.
I
because
got
it's
that
like-
about your decor.
I just don't get that about my face because I'm like, well,
God, I'm like that. And I think it's like that perfectionism part of me is like when I get done after I'm done up, I'm like, yeah. Like you did that.
I feel like I feel like I spend so much time doing so many other things that unless it's required to like also do myself. Wait.
See,
I mean with makeup. You know what I mean. You know what I
She
mean.
likes
Anyway,
to
when it
do
finally comes to that, I'm
herself,
like,
do
if I
it.
don't have to,
do it.
I'm just like, I don't have the energy. I'm
See,
like, this is fine.
My glam, I think because I love it so much, I've got my glam routine. Like I can do full face and hair in 15 minutes tops. And like today, it took me 20 minutes to
I
get
know.
ready.
I see. The thing is, I have like a basic look that I can do, and I do it like for cam. You guys know it's like the same thing every time. But
Same. I have a signature. I'm calling it my signature look because it sounds fancy.
That sounds fancy. I'm gonna use that. So you
Signature
guys
look.
know. So you guys know that my signature look,
Which
the one
is
that
really just my basic look.
yeah, it's the main basic bitch look. So anyway, that one, I can get it down super fast, super easy. But the problem is, it's like I hate after like an hour or two, I hate how it feels, and I'm just like, and I just want to scratch it off, and I hate it. I want to claw off like the layer of my skin that the makeup is on, and then it just my skin is sensitive, and then I
feel
get
that way.
acne the more I wear it.
See, I feel that way after any kind of oil show. I'm like, I'm gonna claw my skin off.
Oh, I love oil.
See, I don't like.
Love it.
I like oil shows during or while you're physically rubbing yourself, but the second it's over, I want the extra oil gone. I want to be like toweled off to where I still feel it, but it's not gloopy and gelatinous, for lack of a better term.
Okay, I see. I just like how it feels, but my skin soaks it up a lot too. So it's kind of like what I use, but I do leave it towards the end because I have 3 dogs. So there's a lot of hair floating around, and
I have 3 cats.
it's like I don't need a carpet on my body. I'm supposed to look shimmery, not like with the little lines of hair like everywhere. They just float. Like
I have
my
3
lungs
cats.
are full of it. Yeah.
Totally understand.
And so it's like I leave it till the end and then I can shower afterwards. But I like how it looks, and I like how it feels. Like it's nice. But
that's one of the
the dog
reasons
hair,
I love her
not
dogs.
nice. Hazards of filming.
Love
at
her
home.
dogs. I love them.
I love them too, but they are kind of horrible.
Little quirky butts. I have cats. I don't have dogs. I feel like dogs require a certain level of maintenance that when I got my cat, I wasn't prepared for. But let me tell you, my cat said, haha, so you thought. And I'm now actually in the process of buying an RV because of my cat.
Yeah, so
I know
you can go places.
I know this sounds insane, but I have literally changed my whole life goals because I got a cat who was on his second life. His old owner passed away. So I inherited a cat. And I was like, cats are low maintenance. I'm going to feed my cat. I'm going to cuddle my cat. And then my cat's not going to want any attention from me at any other time.
Cat.
So I
You're
thought.
like, I was wrong.
This cat needs to eat wet food he's old. He's an old cat, but he eats wet food he was very food insecure when I got him, and we've gone through some shit. So, in order to make him not throw up or die, he eats wet food 3 times a day. He can't be alone for more than a couple hours by himself. He's a very needy cat.
Yeah.
You have to brush him because he's too old to groom himself.
Yeah.
So I thought I was getting a low maintenance animal, and I was like, okay, cat, not a dog. And now I'm like, I should have gotten a puppy. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I love my cat. He is the light of my life. And the whole reason I'm buying an RV is because I want to travel. I did all the exoticas one year, and it was a lot of fun, but I feel like because of who I was associating with and where I was mentally, I didn't get from them what I wanted, and I wasn't advocating for myself. I was advocating for a platform. So I'm excited to do some of the adult industry things for my own brand.
Yeah, because you're like, well, now I can actually put myself out there, and you're like portraying yourself in the way that you want to.
Caitlyn Brooks coming at you. So
guess who's back again? Caitlyn's back.
Tell your friends.
And subscribe to her. But you can't put it there, David, because that's a naughty place and nobody should ever go there.
But
we
you
don't recommend it unless you
can put my link tree though.
You could put it there. Go to the link tree.
So I decided to buy an RV because I want to go do all these things, but I either have to find a cat sitter full time or bring my cat with me. And we talked about when you make a home feel like homely, how much you want to be at home. Well, I decided I didn't want to lose that, but I still wanted to gain travel.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to basically get an RV, make it a luxury RV, wrap it in pink.
Boom.
And we're basically going to be a giant walking poster for Caitlyn Brooks going across country. It's going to be pretty epic. And
That's going to be awesome.
And originally I was like one of those people who wanted a large house and, to stay in one spot and to never leave. And then got this
You're like, but I can be anywhere.
And now
I can
I'm
be mobile.
Like, exactly. And then I was like, and then
it's its own niche, and you can do vlogs, like travel vlogs.
I was like, and then originally I was like, I'm just going to have this big, nice home, and then I'll go fly places, then I'll come right back. And then
that's exhausting.
And then this fucking cat happened.
This goddamn cat.
And so within a year of owning this cat, I restructured my entire life plan to include selling my property, getting an RV, traveling all over the world so my cat can see the world.
You have to take, he needs his own Instagram of his travels in the pink van. You can call him, it's your own pussy wagon, but it's his account. It's just pictures of him and the pink RV around the world.
So I just want to take my pink RV to all these adult conventions and just let my cat experience being a pussy magnet.
He needs, a little
That's
pimp
all
suit.
But good luck putting clothes on him. I tried to put that avocado costume you sent over on him, and he was like, I put it on him, and he just looked at me. And he didn't roll around to get it off like a normal cat, or walk backwards, or freak out. He just looked at me. And my cat doesn't hiss. He never growls. He purrs so loudly, like you think a vibrator is on your bed. It's great. But he just looked at me and he just hissed. And I went, I've heard you hiss one other time in your whole life. And he just hissed at me and he just sat it.
He's like, I am going to kill you in your sleep if I can move in this thing. But I haven't determined yet if I can move.
I'm going to send you the photo so you can show him in the avocado costume.
Avocado.
I just wanted to avocado him. It was so cute.
So, do you remember, did you hear the story of Ein's depression at Friendsgiving? So
I remember Julia getting a little bit of extra attention because she looks so damn cute in that dress.
They were all in sweaters. Edward had his own sweater. Julia had a sweater.
That dress.
Ein did not have a sweater. And people are like, why doesn't Ein have a sweater? I was like, he did. It's SD card full. That's all right. We have the middle camera. So anyway, I was like, he did have a sweater.
But
it's folded up in a box and it will probably never be used. And they're like, why? I'm like, well, I put their sweaters on. I was like, oh, it's cute. It's Christmas. And I just got weird. Like, but I was busy. So it's like just normal stuff like feeding them, playing with them, whatever. But he was just like off by himself. And you would just hear him sigh like from across the house. And like, that's it. And then he would just be standing there like staring off in his face. I'm like, what is going on? He would just lay there, like, so sad. He didn't want treats. He didn't want his little like rawhide. He would chew on it for like 2 seconds.
if my
and, like,
cat won't eat food,
I was like, what is fucking going on?
I'd have to call the doctor.
No, I was like so concerned. I was like, what's happening? Because the other ones were fine. Because I was like, maybe it's the food. I was like, but they're fine. Like, did he get into something? But he was fine every other way. 3 days. I took that sweater off of him. He was like a whole new fucking dog. He was running around, all this puppy energy.
So he just hated clothes?
He was mad for 3 days because he was in a sweater.
I respect
And so he
him.
refused to like barely move. He
I
would barely
respect
move
him.
and he would just cry and whine all day and like move to a different area of the house to whine.
I too prefer to be naked in my own home, so
I know.
I respect
like, I get
him.
it, but the other ones, they don't care. They like it. Like, Edward is so skinny. Like, I think he loves to have the sweater because they're
it
shaved.
feels like a hug.
Yeah, he likes it. It's like a little comfort sweater, but
So
Ein hates it.
the kittens, because I have my old man and then I have a bonded pair of kittens.
Mm-hmm.
They're mini cats. They're almost 2 years old, but I call them the kittens because they're like this big and they're never going to get any bigger. Oh, you heard your name. Yeah. But the kittens, they don't mind being dressed up. You can dress them up. One will sit on your shoulders. You can like manhandle her, put a dress on her, walk her on a leash, take her to the mailbox. She doesn't care. She's all about loving life, which is why I'm like, you'll be a great RV cat.
Yeah.
So just catch me and my cats.
Caitlyn is going on the road. Where is like the place that you're most excited to like explore to? Like, what are some like destination locations that you want to take with your pink wrapped RV?
Okay, so we talked about how Disney is like...
Is it going to be like a party RV? Are you going to have like a disco ball and some shit? Like, are you going to have speakers?
So,
like, what's going on with this RV?
Okay, so basically, I want to make it like the inside of a home. I want you to feel like you're at home. And like I said, my cam space is like hanging out in my bedroom. So I'm basically trying to recreate my cam space that I already have. My like very cozy pink bedroom with Disney Mickey Mouse ears everywhere in my RV space. That's pretty much what I want. I want the inside to be cozy. I don't want it to feel like an RV. I want it to feel like a little posh hotel, like very like...
Can I get your little fairy lights up and shit like that?
Yeah, like I want it to be very like boutique feeling, like very like cozy. And when we do this, I'm like most excited about doing a coast to coast trip because I've been to Florida. I've been a bunch of places. I've bine a bunch
How many times, David? You should probably be running a counter this entire time. How many times have I whacked this?
But I'm most excited about getting the RV all set up and then doing a Disneyland to Disney World trip, because as obsessed as I am with Disney, one of the reasons I'm so obsessed with it is as a kid, I never went to Disneyland. I lived in California my whole goddamn life and had never been to Disneyland. My first time going to Disneyland was shortly after my 21st birthday.
Really?
Yes. And this is why I'm so...
Me too.
I love that. I love that.
Disney World.
I went to Disneyland shortly after my 21st birthday. I've been back once since. Mm-hmm. And being as obsessed with it as I am, as soon as I buy my RV, I'm getting key passes is what they're called now, the new like season passes. And I want to because if you stay for a week at either park, it pays over key pass. So I'm going to do and plan a coast to coast drive and start with Disneyland and end with Disney World. And so that's the most exciting for me because Disney World is the end destination.
Yeah.
And I've been to Florida 5 times. I go once a year for XBiz, but I have never gone to Florida for Disney. So
That will be like a fun travel vlog session and just being able to along the way.
I'm just gonna die just of excitement, and like I'm excited to have my fans experience like genuine joy on this road trip.
Yeah, for sure. And there's so much fun stuff that you can create out of that.
Plus, I talked earlier about having depressive episodes, and one of the coolest things about having an RV is I spend time when I disassociate. I always feel, and my biggest problem is when I disassociate during my depressive episodes is that I'm not accomplishing anything. I'm not getting anything done. So imagine having an RV and being able to on that day go, okay, today's a travel day. We're going to go find a brand new place to set up and do. And I'm like, I feel like I'll lose less time in my own head. So
you have to be doing something because you're
who I am.
On the go. You can't stay somewhere for too long, and so you just have to continue.
And I'm like, imagine like being able to like be like, I'm having a bad day. I'm gonna sleep in bed today, and then wake up in a brand new, awesome environment and location. And
you could be on a mountain. You could be.
And I'm one of those
anywhere.
people who I get wanderlust very quickly and COVID definitely highlighted my need to get out as much as I like to be home.
Yeah, and so this is a way to do that.
To do both. Exactly. To be able to balance both, and all inspired by my fucking cat. Because originally I was like, okay, I just need to find hotels in the U.S. that like allow cats, and
which is super hard, and then even flying with the cat is so
flight
hard,
that allows companions, and then I realized that like they mean dogs, they don't mean cats, and there's a bunch more restrictions and tons more places that like don't allow felines because of the allergies and all these complications. And I went, fuck it.
RV time. I'm making it pink too while we're at it.
So I thought about getting a schoolie, but there's so many rules about where you can park them and dock them and use them. And so I was like, okay, school bus is out. And then I was at RV or tour bus. So it's going to be one of the two. And I'm learning that in a tour bus, you can put a full-size bathtub. And that's kind of big for me.
That would be pretty awesome. But
because
then you would need to get a driver.
That's the one thing.
Wait. If you got a driver and you paid a driver, you would have a write-off.
See, I'm definitely considering just having a travel companion. Not necessarily a driver, but a travel companion. Just because...
Then you can... And you guys can switch off, and then you can, like, even record other travel vlog stuff in between each other.
And creating content is the biggest reason, is because I...
had so long where you didn't create content and couldn't. Well,
the biggest reason is for creating content, having a travel person. Think about all those situations where you're like, here, hold this camera.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're like, I can't set a tripod up here. And I want to do, as you guys know from anyone who's been subscribed to all my fun things, I do a ton of public exhibitionist stuff. Like I do a lot of naked hiking, titties out in public, like a lot of stuff like that. And that's really hard to accomplish, I feel like, alone. It's harder to accomplish alone. You can. But it's harder for me, at least, to accomplish it alone. So, like, having a travel companion would make it really easy to do those, like, surprise type, like, flashing videos and fun things like that.
Yeah.
Or be able to film content while the other person's driving. Like, imagine the cool content of, like, different things flying by in the background. Where are we? You'll never know.
Yeah, it's like, we're on a highway.
Right?
Nowhere.
Like, this trucker was totally into it.
He honked his horn. You like that? Like, yeah, no, it's fun. And that'll be like a really fun experience and a way to just kind of like get back into feeling like yourself and feeling yourself out, like especially going to conventions and traveling across the country and just kind of like re-exploring yourself.
And that's the other thing is I'm always looking for different challenges and stuff like that. And I know that I have wanderlust, and like I said, COVID highlighted that for me. So it's really just a whole new experience. Like, it's a completely different lifestyle than I've ever lived to be transient like that. I've always lived on the West Coast. I've always been pretty, homebody type human being. So it's a very challenging experience for me, because although I'll have my home, I'm going to be in so many situations to interact with other people or to be around other people.
And then you still have that comfort zone where you're like,
So I'm really excited for that, and just like personal development type thing. So I'm very excited about that
it's cool
aspect
because
of it.
yeah, like even going to a convention or something, like it the funny thing about conventions is, yeah, just like the constant, like, you're giving so much of yourself every single day, and it's like you go to decompress, but then you wake up and you do it all again the next day. You're not fully recharged, and it's like you're in a hotel, you're in a foreign space, and you're trying to like hold it together every day, but every day gets a little bit harder. But if you have like your own space that you're already comfortable, that you're comfortable because you've already traveled in it and you feel it, then you can go back and decompress even more.
Because for me, I noticed that when I went to AVN and went home and recharged and did my thing and had my own space, not away from other people as much as like just somewhere I personally could, because other people could even come home with me, and many times I was hosting human beings in my home, so there were other people there. It was just being able to go back to home base for me was fantastic. And I was like, imagine recreating that in every other situation. I was like, you'd be unstoppable.
Yeah, for sure.
So I am very excited about that aspect of like bringing my home with me.
Yeah.
So
no, that's gonna be super fun.
And then I can, like, when my friends are like, I'm thinking about traveling, I'll be like, well, I'm in XYZ place, just fly to me, we'll drive home.
Yeah, hell yeah, that's so cool. And then you guys can just create content along the way.
And like long term, I want to, buy a property here in Las Vegas and basically
have your home base and
be able to go back and forth, and then have other industry human beings be able to rent out the space versus like, am I spending 3 months traveling in the RV, and then when the RV is docked, I learned that you can like rent it out also. So it's like a whole like process of just getting everything licensed and business things. And
yeah, it's a huge process. It's funny because
it's a huge process, but I'm excited.
There's so much that goes into the business side of this job, like even just as like more solo content creators that so many people don't know about. It's like they just act like it's, oh, you just make money. It's like, yeah,
you
but
just
you pay
log in
so
and create content,
taxes, you have all of these business things to deal with, you have paperwork for everything, like it's so much.
It is much
that goes into it, that's like behind the scenes on top of all the other shit that you're doing.
And that's why I said like I'm in the process of, and that's because like I wish that I could be like, hey, new today's new RV, new plan, but really it's going to be a year of rebranding, and by the end
it's a lot of setup and by like get to the point.
And since this is going to come out in January, February, hopefully towards the end of this year, we'll be in the process of wrapping up everything legally to be able to take it on the road and do all my things. Sure. So I'm excited for that. And it's going to be like a good year of building, but like, I'm so excited. I am so excited.
That is going to be so exciting.
Like I said, and everybody, when you enjoy that content, you can thank my cat.
It feels like to a point where things are finally getting much more back to normal for a lot of things. I think like a lot of things have changed and are going to be changed for a while, but I feel like there's a lot more normalcy, like feeling to things and to people and to people's at least comfort level with each other and stuff like that. And so I think like this coming year, I'm pretty excited. There's gonna be a lot of travel. I have a lot of new things coming this year. As this is being released in January, there are many new things. I'm so excited to see coming this year.
I always like what you put out.
A lot of travel, a lot of new collaborations, a lot of new projects. Very exciting things coming. So I'm super looking forward to this coming year.
We still haven't made content together.
I know, girl, you've been broken. Excuse me, like you've been broken. I don't know what you want.
Understatement of the gosh darn century.
Like the one time I'm like, hey, you want to start filming some stuff? You're like, I'm broken.
She's asked me.
Like you've been avoiding
She asked the first time and I was like, can we wait till after my boobies? She asked the second time, I was like, can we wait till after I have COVID? Can you wait till my meniscus is healed?
I'm just starting to think that she doesn't actually want to work with me. She's just teasing me and leading me on.
And when you watch me vigorously enjoy her, you will know otherwise. I'm sure we'll get to it eventually, and I'm actually really excited to start expanding back into shooting with other human beings because I miss it. I just miss the energy on set and hanging out and like
Yeah.
the creativity of playing off another person, because it's so much fun to do stuff alone, just like we talked about being live.
Yeah, but even doing stuff alone, having someone shoot it is more fun. Like, it makes the time go faster. It makes you be able to get through content faster, because it's like, at least then you have like feedback and you know that somebody
That's
else
another
is going to
big
make sure
change.
everything is in frame and looks good and all that shit.
So that's another big change coming for me in the coming year is I've been very, we talked about it in previous podcasts, I've been very reserved as a human being when it comes to branching out. And I'm actually really excited that I'm finally kind of loosening the reins and getting ready to step into having my stuff more professionally filmed on a personal level, so that like my OnlyFans and all of that kind of stuff is going to get a little bit of a revamp, just because I'm going to start filming with a couple professional photographers in the new year, which is
very exciting.
Which is A, terrifying,
but it's also exciting.
But B, so fucking exciting. And
you actually
I'm
shot
almost
with
thriving.
You shot with Allie.
Yes, I'm actually.
And how was that?
I'm actually thriving off the excitement and like the nervousness, though, which is surprising.
I do too.
When I shot with Allie, it was my first shoot really back with my new boobies and like everything. And thank God it was before I hurt my knee. And I had so much gosh darn fun.
Yeah. Their team is so fun.
She was so much fun, and she makes you feel so comfortable. And this is what I'm saying is like, I am so excited for more experiences like that, for just it being able to play off of other creative ideas and things like that.
That's why I've been having fun doing shoots that aren't even necessarily like for the subscription sites, and just doing them like and collaborating with photographers who reach out to do stuff, because it's like just living for the experience and the excitement of doing it.
See, I'm almost on the opposite spectrum. Is I'm just now finally starting to shoot the spicy stuff in a more of a like on scene kind of situation, like with a professional, because before I was shooting most of my spicy stuff myself and only doing photography with professional photographers and things. So now I'm looking at doing the video side of it, and I'm like I said, I'm thriving off of the excitement and the nerves as much as I am
that's so
everything
funny.
else.
Because like shooting with Allie was like a step back for me.
And
I was which is great, but it was fun, but it was so different because it's like boudoir versus like, do you know what I'm saying? Like for me, going tamer is weird and it's harder. Like,
see, I realized that shooting boudoir I'm really good at, because that's where I started. I actually started by dancing burlesque. I was a burlesque dancer and shooting boudoir for a long time, and like I'm finally starting to film, and like I film my own spicy content, but then I'm the only one in the room other than my fans who are live with me when I do live stuff. So I'm now finally starting to like relinquish control a little bit, and like
be like, you have a vision, I know you do,
and so I'm really excited to see how that content starts shaping up and coming out. And you know, if and when I'm really comfortable doing that, I'm hoping to eventually start shooting with like an actual company and put a little bit of mainstream out there, because you know, new body, new visions, new ideas. So
yeah, well, I think if anything, I don't know if this will help at all, but coming from someone who was all making my own amateur stuff, once I did, you know, and I'm that same type of like control freak, like I know what will look best. And I got so comfortable like knowing how to shoot it myself to make it look the best.
For me.
But once I was able to like relinquish that and be like, okay, I can still make my own content, but here's this person who's like super talented, who does this for a living, who knows all the best angles, and I'm already feeling comfortable, like knowing that I know how to make content, I know how to make myself look good. They can capture so much more, and like when you get the content back, you're just like, oh, like, well, I definitely couldn't do this on my own.
I've
so
seen
it's
the
cool.
content produced for other women, and that's what I'm excited to see. For me, it's because I did branch out in my first couple weeks of being a cam model to somebody who didn't utilize my content in the correct way. And so I was burnt for a minute, and it took me a long time to become comfortable enough with my brand and established enough as a human being to know exactly what I'm comfortable releasing to other humans.
For sure.
And when I originally went the route of working with a professional photographer who, in my opinion, was not very professional.
We said his name last time. Feel free to say it again.
Honestly, he changes his production name frequently because of the
I
bad
wonder
publicity.
why.
But because I did that, I was guarded long enough that I was like, I wanted to really be established and figure out what I was comfortable producing before I go in front of a camera again to do that.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
So now that I'm like, I know what I want, I'm like, now you tell me what you want.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about that. And like I said, stepping back into the parameter where I'm looking at mainstream and I'm looking at, you know, working with other companies and things like that. It's like a whole new realm. It's a completely different ball game than just creating your own content at home. So
Yeah.
it was something that I needed to solidify my brand, solidify my rebranding, solidify a lot of like who I wanted to present to the rest of the world professionally. Yeah. And now that I've established who that is, I'm like, you can't stop me now.
Yeah, that's good. And it's important to have that confidence and to also have that self-awareness. I think that it's important for anyone who's going into like shooting this type of content to really know what your boundaries are and what your comfort level is and what you're willing. Huh?
I'm just trying.
That's okay. You can destroy it. Throw it on the ground. Psh.
You want me to be mean to it?
Beat it up. But yeah, it's important and to be able to set those boundaries with yourself and your own comfort level of what you're willing and not willing to do. And it's important to speak up in those situations because you don't want to have any regret about it later and to allow that type of behavior to keep continuing. Like, it's important.
I definitely did all of that self-discovery very publicly. So if you've been following me since before my name change and since before, you know, my accident and things, like you definitely saw me do all of that very publicly. And it makes me giggle because people are always like, if I could tell anyone in this industry anything, it would literally be what not to do. It would be no advice on how to positively do anything. It would be, here's a list of what not to do.
Yeah.
And
but it's true, and I think
I'm very grateful that I did that because, like I said, it's resulted in a lot of self-discovery as a person.
And it's definitely a learning experience. But I'm just saying, like, on a whole, like, learning experiences are good, but I think that people should also really try to learn from other people's experiences as well because we have them for a reason.
Hence
so
the
it's
list
kind
of
like,
things not to do. That's all I want to give you.
It's kind of like just like, but learn that and realize that at the end of the day, it's like you can feel like, well, I deserve to have this level of respect given to me, but you can't force that out of somebody else. And so at the end of the day, it comes down to you as a person to either walk away from that situation, to talk about it like openly and be like, no, this is not what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave. And if you are then still continuously not respected, to actually speak up about it, because
boundaries are very important. In your personal life and in this industry. I feel like we've highlighted that we like the things that are needed in this industry because it's what we're familiar with, but I feel like boundaries have really been detrimental in every area of my life as a human being, and I had to learn how to establish those in my personal life.
I agree.
Just as much as I did my professional life. So it is in no way a direct reflection of like our industry. It's just a reflection of how I made decisions in my early 20s.
Yeah,
you know, my late teens even, because when I first came into this industry, I was a baby. Yeah. So it very much so is just a highlight of like, I learned a lot about myself through making those mistakes in this industry. It was more about self-discovery than it was industry discovery for me. And I think a lot of other women can relate to that because I watch so many young human beings enter this industry. Is you're doing just as much self-discovery as you are business discovery or industry learning. You're learning just as much about yourself.
And you owe it to yourself as a person and as a business, which you need to regard yourself as, to really explore all of the options that are available to you because there are so many. And
I'm just looking
not lock
for new
yourself
challenges.
into one thing.
Yeah.
And to continuously challenge yourself because at the end of the day, that's how you grow. But I think Edward is not going to stop and he needs to come inside because he's tired of being outside. No, I think it's just we've been going for over another hour now, so I think we should wrap it up. So why don't you let them know where they can find you?
Well, guys, thank you for joining us. I had a ton of fun on my now 3rd episode of the Totally Wholesome, Not Dirty at All podcast. You guys can find me at all of these links here. Any of my sites that are me are going to be listed here. So.
And if they're not there, don't get catfished.
It's not me.
So
I
that's
promise.
all you need to know.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for tuning in once again. If you guys have any comments, if you need any advice from your life, your love life, your sex life, if you guys have any art, music, video, any type of submissions, email twndpodcast@gmail.com. Make sure to leave a like, and if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. You can also leave voice messages at anchor.fm/TWND. And I will leave you now and let my ridiculous dog inside. Thank you, and I'll see you next week.